After working as a scientist in North America, Europe and the UK, I eventually settled in the English Riviera in South Devon. As a scientist, I spent many years working on insects, understanding their biology. Eventually, I commercialised my research and founded Entech Nutrition, which is an insect technology company focused on developing ingredients from insects. Insects are widely recognised as a sustainable alternative protein source for food and feed. In many parts of the world, insects are eaten by people, and insects form part of the natural food chain of many animals. The nutritional profile of insects in terms of protein, carbohydrate and fat is a good fit in terms of food and feed. And from an environmental perspective, insects make a lot of sense. It doesn't require much land to farm insects, they don't use much water, and insects don't emit many greenhouse gases. However, the cost to produce a ton of insects is very high compared to the cost to produce a ton of other protein sources that may be used in animal feed, such as soy. My Nuffield study topic focused on whether carbon-neutral insects can be farmed profitably. And I focused on 3 topics. First, I was interested to explore which edible insect species could be amenable to farming. For this, I travelled to countries where edible insects form part of the culture. I travelled to Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa. Second, I got under the bonnet of insect farming to understand where the costs lie and to develop strategies for how these costs can be reduced. For this, I visited insect farms in the UK, Ireland and the Netherlands. Finally, I explored technologies that are used in other industries that could be applied to insect farming to drive down costs. For this, I visited industries in Germany, the Netherlands and Scotland. In many African and Asian countries, edible insects form part of the diet and are harvested seasonally. In Africa, mapani worms and termites are harvested and they're considered to be a delicacy. In the UK, we're heavily restricted by legislation and currently only 7 insect species can be farmed. However, other insect species, such as dubia roaches, morio worms and giant water bugs are amenable to insect farming and may have advantages over some of the insect species that are currently permitted. Through talking to insect farmers and stakeholders, I discovered that the main costs associated with insect farming are the substrate fed to the insects or the insect's food. The process is also very energy intensive and that can be costly, and it's highly labour intensive. Although considered environmentally friendly, the carbon footprint associated with farming insects varies dramatically between systems depending on the substrate used to feed the insects and the energy source. If you carry out a life cycle analysis of insect farming, the carbon footprint can be as high to produce insects as it is to produce other types of protein used in animal feed. Some insect farms use soya-based feed to feed the insects, which makes a nonsense of producing insects in the first place to replace soya in animal feed. To mitigate this, industry byproducts such as brewers' spent grain or waste feed and food can be used to feed insects to reduce the carbon footprint associated with the substrate used to feed the insects. The type of energy used, such as renewable energy, can also drive down the carbon footprint and cost associated with insect farming. Looking at technologies used in other industries, such as flower farming, automation has really driven efficiency and driven down costs. Also, renewable energy such as solar and wind power is used to drive down the costs associated with energy. In conclusion, it is possible to farm insects in a carbon neutral way, depending on the farming system used. Specifically, the substrate used to feed the insects and the type of energy used to heat and cool the insects. Profitability is reliant on efficiency, legislation and market factors. With thanks to the Richard Laws Foundation for sponsoring my Nuffield Farming Scholarship. Thank you.